Political tradition in Nepal, from monarchy to federal democracy. 1. Introduction. Nepal's political tradition is shaped by a unique blend of ancient Hindu-Buddhist monarchic legacy, regional tribal governance systems, colonial-era geopolitical positioning, and modern democratic movements. The evolution of Nepali politics from divine kingship to a federal democratic republic illustrates the complex intersection of tradition and transformation. While political institutions have changed dramatically, historical legacies such as centralized authority, elite dominance, and communal identity continue to influence political behavior and governance. This essay explores the historical trajectory and ideological underpinnings of Nepal's political tradition, analyzes the key phases of transformation from monarchy to democracy, and reflects on the enduring cultural and institutional continuities in contemporary Nepal. 2. Historical foundations of political tradition in Nepal. 2.1 Pre-modern monarchic legacy. The roots of Nepal's political tradition lie in ancient Hindu-Buddhist monarchies that framed kingship as a sacred duty dharma. Rulers were often considered incarnations of Vishnu, and governance was deeply intertwined with religious legitimacy. Lichavi dynasty c. 400–750 AD introduced early codes of law and administrative hierarchy. Malla period 12th, 18th centuries. City-states flourished with elaborate rituals, caste-based governance, and codified laws. Manavnyaya Shastra. Political authority was paternalistic and divine, with an emphasis on ritual order, religious patronage, and moral leadership. 2.2 Unification and Shah dynasty, 1768–2008. Prithvi Narayan Shah's unification campaign in the 18th century established the modern Nepali state under the Shah dynasty. His vision was steeped in Hindu, religio-political ideology, and cultural nationalism. Centralization of power in the monarchy with little room for participatory politics. Creation of a Hindu kingdom, positioning Nepal as a buffer state between British India and Qing China. Political tradition emphasized royal patronage, caste-based hierarchy, and limited local autonomy. This model of statecraft persisted for centuries, insulating Nepal from colonization, but also delaying democratic evolution. 3. Rana autocracy and political closure, 1846–1951. From 1846 to 1951, the Rana regime ruled Nepal through hereditary prime ministers, effectively sidelining the Shah kings. This period reinforced authoritarian political traditions. 3.1 Structure of Rana rule. Military dominance power was maintained through coercion, patronage, and a standing army. Elite oligarchy, a small number of Rana families, controlled political, economic, and social systems. Political exclusion. Public participation was non-existent. Education and press were heavily restricted. Modernization without democratization, infrastructure, and diplomacy advanced, but the state remained deeply autocratic. 3.2 Resistance and awakening. Despite repression, seeds of political awareness emerged. Nepali diaspora in India, particularly in Benares and Darjeeling, fostered liberal nationalist thought. Rise of democratic socialist and communist ideologies, inspired by Indian and global movements. The 1950–51 anti-Rana revolution, supported by King Tribhuvan and the Indian government, marked the first major break in Nepal's traditional political order. 4. Experimentation and crisis. The Panchayat era, 1960–1990. 4.1 Constitutional monarchy and initial democracy, 1951–1960. After the fall of the Rana regime, Nepal entered a brief democratic phase. The 1959 constitution established parliamentary democracy, and the Nepali Congress won the first general elections. However, political instability and royal mistrust led to the 1960 royal coup by King Mahendra. 4.2 Panchayat system and controlled democracy. The Panchayat system 1960-1990 was a partyless political structure under royal leadership, ideological framing, national unity, Rastriya Ekata, Hindu identity, and monarchy were emphasized. Institutional structure. Local, district, and national councils were formed, but all power flowed from the palace. Suppression of pluralism. Political parties were banned. Opposition was persecuted. The Panchayat era deepened. The tradition of centralized, symbolic, and moralized authority, reinforcing the monarchy's role as both secular ruler and spiritual guardian. 5. Democratic movements and the collapse of monarchy. 5.1 1990 People's Movement Jana Andolan Jai. Public discontent, fueled by economic inequality and political repression, culminated in a mass movement in 1990. Civil society, students, political parties, and the media demanded democratic reforms. The result was the 1990 Constitution, which re-established a constitutional monarchy and multi-party democracy. This was a critical departure from traditional rule, although the king retained significant symbolic power. 5.2 Maoist insurgency and Second People's Movement 1996-2006 The Maoist armed struggle 1996-2006 emerged from long-standing grievances over caste, ethnic, and regional marginalization, challenged the Hindu unitary state model, and called for secularism, federalism, and socio-economic justice. The Royal Massacre of 2001 and King Gyanendra's autocratic reassertion in 2005 deepened the crisis. In 2006, a broad coalition of Maoists, political parties, and civil society staged the Second People's Movement, Jana Andolan II, forcing the king to relinquish power. 6. Federal Democratic Republic and political transition. 6.1 Abolition of monarchy, 2008. In a historic shift, Nepal abolished the 240-year-old monarchy and declared itself a federal democratic republic in 2008. The interim constitution, 2007, paved the way for a secular, inclusive, and participatory political system. The first Constituent Assembly (CA) was tasked with drafting a new constitution. 6.2 Constitution of 2015 and federalism. After years of political deadlock, Nepal promulgated its new constitution in 2015. Key features include federal structure with 7 provinces, secularism and fundamental rights protections, inclusive representation for women, Dalits, indigenous groups, and Matisas, proportional electoral system combining first-past-the-post and proportional representation. This marked a major transformation from monarchic centralism to decentralized democracy. 7. Enduring features of Nepali political tradition. Despite these changes, several traditional patterns persist. 7.1 Centralized power and elite dominance. Though federalism has been institutionalized, decision-making remains concentrated in Kathmandu. Political elites, often from dominant caste and regional groups, continue to monopolize leadership positions, reflecting a modern version of traditional aristocracy. 7.2 Patronage politics. Clientelism, nepotism, and party-centered loyalty are pervasive in Nepali politics. These behaviors reflect a continuation of feudal patronage networks, where access to state resources depends on personal connections rather than institutional accountability. 7.3 Moral authority and national unity discourse. Even in Republican Nepal, leaders often invoke moralistic and nationalist narratives to legitimize their authority. Calls for national unity, especially during times of crisis, echo Panchayat-era rhetoric, indicating the resilience of symbolic political traditions. 8. Challenges and prospects for democratic deepening. 8.1 Identity politics and federalism. Ethnic and regional movements, especially in Madhus and the Himalayas, continue to demand greater autonomy, inclusion, and recognition. Managing these demands within the federal framework is critical for sustaining democratic stability 8.2 Constitutionalism and Rule of Law. While the Constitution provides a democratic blueprint, political instability, frequent government changes, and weak enforcement of laws challenge its legitimacy. Ensuring judicial independence and institutional capacity remains a pressing task. 8.3 Youth and Civil Society Engagement. A politically conscious younger generation is increasingly vocal about corruption, unemployment, and governance reform. Civil society and grassroots movements play a vital role in democratizing the political space beyond traditional party structures. 9. Conclusion. Nepal's political tradition reflects a long journey from sacred monarchy and authoritarian centralism to an inclusive, secular, and federal democratic republic. While institutional frameworks have evolved, enduring elements centralized authority, elite dominance, and moralistic legitimacy continue to shape the political landscape. The transformation of Nepal's political tradition is ongoing. It involves not only replacing old institutions, but also reshaping political culture, civic behavior, and power relations. The challenge for Nepal lies in harmonizing its rich historical legacy with democratic values of pluralism, accountability, and participation. Doing so requires sustained civic engagement, inclusive governance, and a commitment to constitutionalism that transcends the shadows of the past.